Today, we are so happy to welcome back Reverend Wendy Yacboski. Wendy believes that one divine life is the source of all life's abundance. Wendy's life is dedicated to teaching how you can transform this powerful truth from a mystical promise into your own personal reality. Please join me in warmly welcoming Reverend Wendy.
Okay. So the founder of Science of Mind, Ernest Holmes, many of you are familiar with him, I'm sure. He was the founder of Science of Mind and Spirit, and he said many times in the text that there is a power for good in the universe and that we can use it. Now, as we move into talking about miracles, I realize that there's actually a lot to say about miracles, a lot to learn, a lot to consider. So I'm seeing today as a springboard from which those of us that are really wanting to understand miracles and live miracles in a different way will be able to do so from what I'm going to share with you. So today, we're not so much going to look at the definition of miracles, but what we are going to do is look at some examples of miracles that we can take forward, I hope, as I mentioned, into our own lives and use that power of which Ernest Holmes talked and taught about. So the first example of a miracle that I'm going to share with you is actually about the friend of mine. I don't actually have her permission to share this, so I'm going to call her Jane. And but I can say my friend's name, which is Tona. So Tona had a close friend who was diagnosed with kidney cancer. She was referred to the cancer clinic and the oncologist in Victoria, and proceeded to go through a full slate of treatments. Eventually, she was told that there was nothing more that they could do for her, and that she had 2 weeks to live. She was then transferred from Victoria to the Nanaimo Hospital Palliative Care. When Tona visited Jane, shortly after she arrived in Nanaimo at the palliative care, Jane didn't want visitors. She was barely able to lift her head, and she was extremely thin. And when Tona left, her natural thought was that, I'm not sure if I'm going to see my friend again. And yet sometime later, Tona visited Jane when she was moved to an extended care unit. And oh my God, Jane was up, walking with a walker, and had gained some weight. A miracle in itself. On Tona's next visit with Jane, she needed to drive to Parksville to an assisted living residence that Jane had moved into. Jane had gained weight and was walking without the use of a walker. She was her normal self. And while they were visiting, 2 women came by that were palliative care nurses when Jane was in palliative care, and they had worked with her. And what they said to Tona and also to Jane, we have to visit you. You are our miracle patient. So Jane, believe it or not, this woman who had been given 2 weeks to live was back to her normal self by about a year later. It wasn't within a week or two. and as I mentioned, was back to her normal self at a healthy weight. Still no walker required, and was able to care for herself in the residence she now lived in Nanaimo, is no, it did not. While Jane was in palliative care, she had a mind and motivation shift, realizing she did not want to die. And she acted on it, first by getting help from the nurses to regain her muscle strength, get her moving. And daily she built her endurance through committed activities. And something much deeper, perhaps, was a deep inner knowing that she had that she hadn't finished her journey of life on this earth yet. A pretty powerful awareness and realization. So how do we explain these things? Well, we can't really. We can't. We all have different journeys, different life experiences, and timing to go through, without a doubt. Is this the result that everyone has? Obviously not. Is it the result more could have? I don't know the answer to that. But this talk is not on death and dying. It's about miracles and the untapped love and divine nature within us that is available for us to use. Two more examples of miracles, both from the Bible. So one was the story of Jesus feeding the multitudes. As you know, as I'm sure most of you know, that Jesus had 5,000 gather to hear him speak, and he realized that he needed to feed them. But they only had 5 loaves and 2 fishes to be able to do that. Now Jesus, being an example of a miracle worker, but being a miracle worker, was able to turn those 5 loaves of bread and 2 fishes in not only enough to feed the multitude, but to have 12 basketfuls left over. Now, I know many of us like to have maybe a system or a process that we can do to make things happen. And so I'm going to share with you what this process was for Jesus, and I'm also going to bring in another Bible story of the widow whose husband died, who was, you could say, a servant or supporter of a holy man. But unfortunately, her husband left her a lot of debt. And so what happened was that in order to pay that debt, the creditor said, I want 2 of your sons to go into slavery. That will pay your debt. And so the widow, afraid out of her mind, not knowing what to do, went to the holy man and said, what can I do? I have nothing to give this creditor. And he said, are you sure, paraphrased, you have nothing? Look in your home and see what you do have. And so she did, and she found that she had maybe a big jar, but a jar of oil for lighting lamps. And so the holy man said to her, get multiple vessels, not just 1 or 2, but multiple vessels, and pour the oil into each one of them. So her sons went to get the vessels for the oil, and that is exactly what she did. And this holy man said that you will have enough to pay your debt and more. Now, looking at these things, we can certainly wonder how was that ever possible? And so one of the things I learned in my research is that in order to have a miracle Perhaps we could use the word demonstration. But in order to do that, we need to have what's called a starter. So for Jesus, the starter was the loaves and fishes. For the widow, it was the container of oil. And what Jesus did when he went to perform the miracle, he blessed what he had. So 2 steps here. What do we have that we're not thinking of, that we actually have, which is the starter? And the second is to bless it. And in blessing it, looking up to the heaven, but the higher idea, giving it up, and knowing that in Jesus' case, he was one with the Father. There was no separation. And that the Father, these are my words now, in Jesus speaking to the 5,000 and sharing the word, was going to support him. But either way, he believed that the Father would produce the miracle. Jesus was a vessel of the miracle. So it's about knowing our oneness with the source of all. So having a starter, blessing it, knowing the truth of our being, and then something quite amazing that I'd never heard before is that, as you know, Jesus broke the bread. And what does that mean? Well, the way I understand it is that by breaking the symbol of a meal, let's say, into smaller pieces, we change our attitude about it. Whereas once we thought we had nothing, or certainly not enough, now we actually have the mindset that we have more than we thought. We have more than we thought. So the next step is to actually give of it, to give of what you have. So Jesus started giving, well, the disciples actually did, but started giving out the food that they had. And what I learned about this, which really surprised me also, was that many of us in our humanness wait for, quote unquote, enough food for 5,000 people before we start giving out food. Anyone understand that? Yeah. But he didn't. He started giving it out, and as he had recognized it, blessed it, knew his oneness with the divine, and started giving it out, it multiplied. This I can't tell you how that happened, but it multiplied, and as I said, was enough for 12 basketfuls full of more food. It was not only barely enough, it was over enough. And the same with the widow was instructed by the holy man to either give the containers, but of course she needed to sell the containers of oil in order to meet her need. And so that's what she did. And again, it multiplied. Miraculously, it multiplied. So where in our life are we thinking we have nothing? Where are we, and I know this is a strong word, where are we cursing what we have or what we don't think we don't have, when there might be actually, we have something to start with? You know, and this goes for anything. This goes for our talent, our gifts, our abilities, not only our food, our health, our money, our contribution. It goes for everything. These are principles that we are working with. So we get to look at our life. Maybe look in a closet we haven't opened for a while, or a basement where we thought, shoving that dream there, you know, or that old oil there. You know what I'm saying? So we need to be willing to have a different mindset about what we have. I remember in what I was preparing, it said to hold what we have and bless it. And it made me think of myself and body. I'm not probably 100% confident in every area of my body, but what I realized is that if I held that part or those parts and blessed it, that I can be uplifted to see my wholeness in a greater way, and especially knowing that I'm one with God. So anything, this principle works with anything. So if each of these miracle workers had looked only to their human experience and abilities, to their past, or to their fears, these miracles would not have happened. If they wouldn't have taken action, they wouldn't have happened either. Sometimes, I know for myself as a practitioner as well as a minister, that sometimes when I'm praying for somebody, I take on the responsibility to think that I'm the healer. I'm not. I'm the vessel. God is the healer. Fill in the term that works for you. God is the healer, not the surgeon, not the doctor, not the pill, perhaps. It may help. But this is what we need to remember, is not just the form of the miracle, but what creates the miracle. They're two different things, and in this world, you may agree with me, we tend to focus on form. The miracle is the money. The miracle is the dinner. The miracle is a cure. The miracle is anything that we can see and touch. And believe me, it's not that I don't think that that may be part of the miracle, but we're looking for the source of the miracle. It's like that saying about feed a man a meal or teach him to fish so that he can have a meal whenever he's hungry. And that's what I'm proposing here, is that as we take these steps of looking, well, first of all, we need to know what we need, acknowledge what we need, but to see what we have, to bless it and see the higher idea, break it down, break it up, shift and change it a little bit so that it will not only look like more, but that the blessing can expand. And yeah, I am just in this moment lost for the next step. But we do need to learn about these laws of life, these laws of nature that are our nature. The nature of God is our nature. So we are actually participants in miracles, using life's spiritual, mental, physical laws for the purpose of the good of all. The good of all. And we're necessary participants in the miracle itself, in our own and in others. I just want to share this with you in case it fits for someone. One of the quotes that I came across yesterday that said, if your miracle prayers aren't being answered, you're likely the answer to someone else's miracle at that time. Maybe not forever, but an answer to someone else's miracle. So in connecting to the world as the source of our good alone, we can find ourselves experiencing a sense of being lost rather than in connection with the greater divine truth that is part part of us that we are part of, that is our nature. And it can even morph into personalizing it to believe that we're undeserving and unworthy of good and great good, and that lack, competing, and comparison and all other manner of ideas is all there is. It's not true. It's what's making the most noise. So I call us all to daily, as we can, learn more about universal laws, divine laws, our true nature, to see how we can apply them in our lives, whatever's going on, and to take action. And always remember that it is the creative force that is fulfilling the miracles through our participation. And I'll close with the reading that is called, I Am Only One. And it says, I am only one, but I am one. I cannot do everything, but I can do something. What I can do, I ought to do. And what I ought to do, by the grace of God, I will do it. So yes, there is a power for good in the universe, and we are a key part of it. Namaste.
Thank you, Wendy. Thank you for this profound, delightful, inspiring, moving, touching, transformative, wonderful, excellent, juicy, expanding, uplifting, masterful talk. Did I forget anything? It was just magical. To me, it was like magic. Thank you so much. You're such a blessing to us. Please come back. And of course, we just have to give spending time in such an intentional field of energy. Come on out and join us next week. We would love to have you. We hope you heard something today that expanded your consciousness. And we believe whatever it was will make a big difference in your life. We now come to the time in our gathering where we get to demonstrate our gratitude for this community through your freely giving love offerings. Please know that your giving continues a lineage of spiritual souls who have kept Unity running here in Vancouver for more than 60 years. And we just want to let you know how much we value walking the spiritual path together with you. Here at Unity, we know God is the source of everything in our lives. So whatever you give today, give it from a state of gratitude for all that you have received, and know that we believe your best days are still ahead of you. And may it be so. So now let's say our offering statement all together. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I give, and all that I receive. If you're here in person, please drop off your donations with the ushers as you exit the sanctuary. And to donate online, simply click on the donate link in your chat window, which will allow you to give via all major credit cards. You can also give via e-transfer, which can be addressed to donations@unityofvancouver.org. Once again, if you are on Zoom or YouTube, you will find a donate link in your chat window. Now, while we are making our donations, let's enjoy a short instrumental. Thank you. Have you ever wondered what A Course in Miracles is all about? Check a class out. Drop-ins are warmly welcomed. Study groups meet on Tuesdays from 12:30 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. in person. This week, this Tuesday afternoon class will be held here at Unity, Vancouver. And please mark your calendars. Tuesday, September 5th, we'll be starting a new 6-week program on the 12 Powers with Reverend Sandra Campbell. This program will be offered on Zoom beginning at 6:30 to 8 p.m. and will be by donation. And of course, join us next Sunday as we welcome the always uplifting Reverend Sandra Campbell, who will be coming to us live on the big screen together with the live in-person music and soul-stirring solos of the amazing Tom Artson. You don't want to miss that. And today, affirmative prayer chaplains are Barb Richards, Mike Richards, Carol Roman, and Margaret McLeod on Zoom. Can you please stand so we can see who you are? Thank you for your service to the light. I highly recommend. Those prayers are amazing, pure magic. So please come after the service to have a confidential prayer with one of our chaplains. Come to the front after music has finished.